July 1944, deep in the forests of East Prussia. The military headquarters known as the Wolf's Lair shook from a massive explosion. Smoke billowed into the air. Tables and chairs were blasted across the room. Tree trunks were shredded. German officers lay scattered across the destroyed conference hut. And from the middle of the rubble, Adolf Hitler walked out. His clothes were torn. His face covered in dust, but he was alive. Just minutes earlier, a powerful bomb had been placed right at his feet. A bomb that should have blown him to pieces. But because of a simple accidental action, a German officer casually moved the briefcase containing the bomb behind a thick, wooden table leg. Hitler survived. In that moment, Hitler uttered a single sentence. Once again, fate has protected me. This was not the first time he said those words. Nor was it the first time Hitler truly believed an invisible hand was shielding him. This story began all the way back in World War I. Back in 1918, Private Adolf Hitler was stationed in the trenches of northern France. One gloomy morning, he stepped out of a trench to check a message dispatch. Less than a minute later, a shell exploded exactly where he had been standing. All the soldiers around that spot were instantly killed. Hitler was wounded, but he survived. For years afterward, he would proudly repeat this story, saying I escaped death by a hair. Fate chose me for a greater mission. Historians believe this was the turning point. That shaped Hitler's extreme superstition. He began to believe he was the chosen one, that the hand of destiny would always protect him. After coming to power in 1933, this belief became an obsession. He was convinced that no one could kill him, that all assassination attempts would fail, because destiny is on my side, and that any stroke of luck was a divine sign. For a dictator, such a belief was incredibly dangerous. And as history shows, Hitler was absurdly lucky. Throughout the Nazi era, there were over 25 known attempts to assassinate Hitler. Some by the Allies, some by his own Nazi officers. Some by civilians, priests, and even intelligence agents. Let's look at 5 major plots that best illustrate Hitler's belief in this spiritual protection. First, the 1938 plot by the carpenter Georg Elsa. The bomb exploded right on schedule, devastating the hall. But Hitler had left just 30 minutes earlier than usual. Due to bad weather, 13 minutes. The difference between life and death. When he was told about the explosion, Hitler immediately said, once again, fate has saved me. A German Jewish officer plotted to assassinate Hitler with a pen containing a lethal toxin. If Hitler placed the pen near his mouth, something he often did, while thinking he would die within minutes. But just hours before their scheduled meeting, Hitler suddenly fell ill and the meeting was canceled. Once again, it seemed too many that fate had intervened. Fourth, we have Operation Foxley. The British sniper plan from 1944. Britain developed an extremely detailed plan involving a sniper, a support team, and a precise schedule of Hitler's morning walk at his Berghof retreat. They knew the exact time, 8 a.m. When Hitler would walk along a path with only two distant guards, he was a perfect target. But the plan was cancelled at the very last moment. Why? Because some British officials feared that killing Hitler might actually lead to Germany choosing a more competent and effective leader, potentially prolonging the war. History shifted once again on a razor's edge. And finally, we return to the most famous plot of all. July 20th, 1944, the bomb that could have changed the world. LED by Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. A bomb was placed in a briefcase right at Hitler's feet. During a military conference, it detonated inside the hut, killing 5 people and injuring many more. But Hitler only suffered minor injuries. The reason a German officer had moved the briefcase just inches away, placing it behind the thick, solid oak leg of the conference table, which absorbed most of the blast. After the explosion, Hitler declared to his inner circle, "Fate has chosen me to fulfill my historical mission." Hitler didn't just believe in fate. He was deeply obsessed with the occult. He followed astrology, sought advice from fortune tellers, and constantly looked for divine signs. He was convinced he was protected by supernatural forces, even when the war turned disastrous. For Germany, Hitler insisted, "No one can kill me, I am protected." This belief made him reckless, arrogant, and utterly ignorant of military warnings. He was notoriously negligent about his own security. One of the biggest examples of this delusional thinking was the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. Many of his top generals warned him it would be catastrophic. But Hitler dismissed their concerns, declaring destiny is on our side. The result was Operation Barbarossa, a fatal mistake that led directly to the collapse of Nazi Germany. So why did Hitler survive all these attempts? Historians offer several rational explanations. First, Hitler had incredibly unpredictable habits. He rarely followed a fixed schedule, which made planning an assassination nearly impossible. Second, the various resistance groups inside Germany were fragmented and lacked unity. Third, the Gestapo's intelligence network was ruthlessly effective at sniffing out plots. And finally, there was that undeniable series of bizarre coincidences, sudden weather changes, rescheduled meetings, and random actions by others that saved his life. There is, of course, no evidence that Hitler was spiritually protected. But his streak of luck was so strange that even high-ranking Nazi officers began to believe. He was, as one put it, ungovernable by mortal means. This only deepened Hitler's delusion that he was chosen for some holy mission. But in the end, there was no fate. There was no miracle on April 30th, 1945, in the damp bunker beneath a ruined Berlin, with Allied forces just a few hundred meters away. Hitler ended his own life with a single gunshot. He died not by divine intervention, but by his own hand. There was no spiritual protection, no sacred mission, just a superstitious dictator whose belief that he was chosen by destiny led him in Germany into one of the greatest catastrophes in human history. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you next time.